G'day, champions, and welcome to another episode of Kicking the Sherrin. We're into the business end of the year in the AFL. We've got the semi-finals here, which is absolutely mouth-watering with the games we've got this weekend. But you know what? We've got the All-Australian team that was named as well. So let's kick off with our co-host. Over to you, Oyster. How are you, champ? And what do you think of the team?
Yeah, I'm good, Captain. Happy Book Week, everybody. For those listeners who had to try and scrounge a last-minute costume idea.
I did see yours. Very nice.
Mate, I'll have to send you a picture of the one I wore today. Listeners, just put it this way. As the French say, risque. But look,
we didn't go Borat, did we?
It was borderline.
Sure, on the cannon. Anyway, if we could turn back time, maybe that outfit.
I managed to find a size 22 girls' school uniform, and I'll leave the rest to your imagination. But I'll see if I can post a picture on the website, listeners. Yeah, look, it's an interesting week, particularly with the All-Australian side being announced, and then we've had Dave Teague sacked as Carlton coach, which sort of adds to the number of sacked coaches in the past 8 or 9 years now.
Yeah, I've had a few.
Been a lot, and there's been some quality coaches in that list too. I know, like Brett Ratton and Dennis Pagan. I mean, like Dennis Pagan was like arguably the coach of the late '90s with North Melbourne. He got the arse, and then Mick Malthouse could only do so much.
So much, yeah. With Pagan, though, we couldn't forget his beautiful curly hair. Oh, how do you get those curls? You know, people pay for that sort of shit.
Yeah. I know, and look, I know he had a great side in the '90s with North Melbourne with the stars, the side they had at his disposal. But you know, Carlton, they're an interesting bunch, and
Go on the Carlton. You've got two in the All-Australian team, Sam Walsh and Harry McKay. So,
but he's the Coleman medalist, so I get it. You know, like he's a beautiful mark. Captain, but like his goal kicking can be up to shit some days. But when he's on, he's on.
He's on, yeah.
When he's off, like he makes Tom Lynch look like a superstar when he's off. But look, it's my favourite player, you know, as you know, listeners. But Sam Walsh is a good young fella. He's a great player. He's got some skills, and like you're saying before, like do you weigh up where teams have finished in the competition in regards to selection criteria availabilities, or you look at the team of the side of the 40 who missed out completely? So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like Gold Coast Suns had Tuke Miller in the squad.
Yep, true.
Yeah.
One of the things I guess you got to look at with Carlton is, okay, they had a full forward and they had bloke in the midfield. There was no one in defence that made the All-Australian team, so go figure on that one.
Yeah, look, probably of all the players who should have made it, Jacob Wiedering was probably unlucky in some ways because
he gave it a good
go. Probably had one of his better seasons. And as a backman, you look to critique the backman a little bit more harder, and I guess you probably do the same with the forwards, Captain, where you look to see how he plays as a backman, and he's got a really good understanding of where the ball is, and he can predict where the ball lies. And as his body's gotten stronger and stronger, his one-on-one work's actually getting a lot better. So he's probably one of the unlucky ones to miss out, to be honest. But Jake Lever and Sam May have been. Steve May, been absolutely sensational for the Demons. Yeah. I mean, they deserve their spots. I mean, Lever and May are he's a quality player, Lee. Yeah, and he's strong, and he's really taken that centre half back position as his own. And it'll be interesting to see who he plays on tonight. If he plays on Jeremy Cameron or the Tomahawk, because last time they played against each other, the Tomahawk went pretty rampant, and the Cats won. So fingers crossed, that's what we're in the hat today. Fingers crossed. 300 games for the Tomahawk, massive achievement. Yep. Could have been a lot more, but
what do you do?
Yeah, it's a big game. Mitch Duncan's back. This is probably their best chance to win. with the squad they've got available at the moment. But who knows?
And on your mod too, I mean, you got to give hats off. You got Tom Stewart, who's made the All-Australian. You've also got, as you said, the Tomahawk. He made it up there, the forward line. So look, the Cats are well represented there in the All-Australian too. So that's well deserving on where they finished on the table. But I don't know what happened. Don't know what happened last week, though, do you? You didn't get an inkling as to what happened there.
Cam Guthrie, like millimeters. If he kicked it literally half a meter to the left, the Cats win. They're minor premiers, and then they've probably got 8 people in the side. And then they lose, give away a controversial 50-meter penalty.
Oh, what about that?
Gawn takes a grab, and then the Demons win. Good on them. They've been the best side all year. They have. I mean, they deserve to be minor premiers, but it's just, I don't know, it's a cliche, but it's a game of inches, isn't it? It's a game of millimeters from last week's game. But
we're still talking about football here, or unit sex life? That's a game of inches too.
Which is a game of 2.54 centimeters in
minimum inches.
I don't know. It's. I don't want to say it's the game they needed to lose, because I mean, the Lions towed us up.
Yeah.
The only time we played against them on that Thursday night, where I stayed the whole time and got absolutely bollocks by all the Brisbane Lion supporters. But that's what real supporters do. As you know, being a Swan supporter, we've probably got a better chance of beating Port Power than we would have Brisbane. To be honest with you, I don't know. We just chances? Don't. Although I'm not overly confident, but I've been confident in the past, and it's bit me in the ass. So I'm gonna. And I think I did say last week, listeners, that Melbourne were going to win anyway. I was right, but you can't be 7 goals ahead and lose.
40 up.
40 up. And Dangerfield was on the bench for a long time. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't think he's all there. I think that throat injury might still be bothering him a little bit, I think.
Yeah, and look, you're not finishing minor premiers without having that quality as a team that can't show some resilience and fight back. I mean, the Cats jumped them.
Yep. And
they should have won. But then, you could say that the Bulldogs should have beat the Cats when the Cats beat them after the siren. That's peaks and troughs. And that's how I view things as a league, as a AFL supporter, as a Cats supporter. They lost that game, but they've won games that they shouldn't have won in the past. So look, will Chris Scott really be that worried about it? Well, probably not. They would have had to play in Adelaide anyway.
Yeah.
They have to beat Port Adelaide anyway. Is it the week now, or is it the week later, or the week after that? So it's
you got to come up against them.
I don't think it's too much of a concern.
Now, the other game that we've got to look at is GWS against my Sydney Swans. I'm a little nervous with this one, because I know we got them last time, but we also got them when GWS were missing a couple of players, like the human Grub. He's in good form, the Grub, and that's something we've got to really be on our game with. But we always seem to struggle against these guys in the semis too. The GWS seem to always stick it to us.
And speaking of Grubs, your player Tom Papley made the All-Australian side.
Yeah.
Congratulations to.
Pap's got one.
As far as Grubs go, it's a bit of a grub off, but
I just wish you could kick a lot straighter sometimes at goal.
Yeah, that's true. Look, it's going to be a great game, and for Tasmania to have those hosting rights is a massive boost for their likelihood of having a side. But who knows? I mean, the Swans should win. The Giants should probably lose, but these are the games where the Giants tend to click up a gear, like you were saying before. And with Toby Green plays half decently, and you got Mumford, who's the ruck now. They've I think Briggs is one of the emergencies that have been named, and you got young Sam Taylor and Nick Haynes who have been doing a great job in defence this year. I think even Phil Taylor's one of the emergencies that have been named. So they're really showing their faith behind Taylor, and great young player. I mean, he's very much the mould of a Tom Stewart or back in the day, Ben Hart, Guy McKenna, Glenn Jakovic mold where he would just take a lot of intercept marks. Like he dominated Tomahawk a few weeks ago when the Giants beat the Cats. Yeah, but this one should win. Buddy kicked a bag last week, and we'll see how he goes this week. But Phil Davis normally had that role on Buddy when they used to play. So like Sam Taylor's probably going to get that job, and I think if Buddy fires, the Swans should pretty much win, and then win convincingly, you think. And then I think they win. They play against the loser of Melbourne, Brisbane. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you're right on that one. But well, that's a big game too. Like the Lions and Demons. I mean, that to me is an absolute mouth-watering game. Like you've got. The Demons got in the minor premiership. And I messaged you in that game last week going, oh, mate, what were you worried about? Geelong have got this. They're home and host. Demons will not win this comp.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, they fucking won? Like, what the hell?
I know.
I couldn't believe it. And then I'm looking at it now going, maybe they are the real deal. This is a team that were 40 points down and we thought, no, they're gone. This is really showing what they're made of. And they came back and won. So maybe they do have the team to do it. I mean, obviously it could be minor premiers. They got the team, but stranger things have happened. Remember when Western Bulldogs beat the Swans in the grand final? No one really gave the Bulldogs much of a chance that season, but they came out and they're on fire.
It's the and people think you need to win that first game to get that prelim spot to win a flag, but the last few years, Richmond lost their qualifying final against Brisbane and still won the flag, and then Hawks got belted by West Coast back in 2015, I think it was.
Yeah.
And they absolutely towered up the Eagles in that grand final replay. Like later on the time. So it doesn't mean that you can't win if you don't win that first game. It sets you up, obviously. But like we were saying before, momentum's a funny thing, isn't it? Like some players and some teams play better without those weeks off. And it's interesting how many teams win that qualifying final, make a prelim, and then lose because they had the week off. It happens so many times since the bye round. But because there's no bye round this week,
it's gone.
Or this year, it could be totally different. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the footy. There's some great games. Like even the Western Bulldogs Essendon games are a pretty cracking game because Essendon's had a fair few All Australian recipients this year.
And Fantasia comes back too from injury this week as well. So that's a good inclusion as well. He actually lifts that team a lot. Yeah.
So it's like you got the package against his old team.
Yeah.
The Bulldogs have been pretty ordinary the last month of footy. So, I mean, if they can't find motivation to win.
I think they're gone, mate. I think you just put the line straight through them and they're gone.
Yeah, I mean, I never used to really rate Josh Bruce as a forward option, but ever since his injury, they've sort of died in the arse a bit because they're expecting a lot more of Norton. And young Jamara, he's only a young kid, isn't he? It's not like he's going to be winning games on his back as an 18, 19-year-old. He's a good player, but he's not that quality yet. Not yet. No. Not saying he's not.
He'll
just not yet. Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah.
Let's touch on the Hawks, like you mentioned before. Okay, so we've had the saga now with Clarkson retiring, Burgoyne retired, and they had everything to go. And I thought dead set they were going to absolutely towel up Richmond, and they should have won that. Speaking of games, they should have won. And they ended up pulling a draw off.
Yeah, well, we were both wrung, weren't we?
Yeah, so I couldn't see that one. I mean, a bloody draw. I mean, I suppose it's fitting because the Tigers did have a lot of people retiring as well. And unfortunately, one wasn't Tom Lynch, but it was one of those things that it was a probably good result in the end for both clubs. But let's move on to Clarkson. You mentioned Teague before getting the arse, and they took their sweet ass time doing that. But I think we all know Clarkson's really going to get that job. I don't think they really want to go to the Ross line, after what happened over Freo. I think what's going to happen is they're saying, or Clarko come out going, well, I want to travel for 12 months before I go on to another gig. One problem, champ, you can't travel anywhere. Everything's shut down at the moment. You're based in Melbourne, Victoria, and New South Wales.
You're living in the third smallest state or territory in the country,
and
in
you
Victoria.
Can't travel.
Nah, look,
because of COVID.
But Geelong's beautiful. The Great Ocean Road's beautiful. 12 Apostles are beautiful, but I mean, like, that's not 12 months. You could literally do 6 or 7 laps of Victoria in those 12 months. At least you go into like every single regional city or regional town.
You'd want to have a good caravan of Fox.
To be honest with you, though, Captain, would you want to be the captain, the coach of Carlton? Like, honestly,
I think he just wants to be a first grade coach.
Yeah,
I think it's in his blood. It's in his veins. I think he just wants to be a coach in first grade. And this is the only job at the moment going around. He's probably like, you know what? I'll win a few games here and I'll show them I can coach still. Because, I mean, I've got the record. I've done a 3-peat. I've won another premiership. So I've won 4 in total at the Hawks. I'll get players coming here because players will want to play for me. But it is a tall ask. Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, like, you'd think that the Carlton list is a lot better than the Hawks list at the moment. But, I mean, like, just think about the plays he had at the Hawks at that time when he won those 4 premierships. So we're talking like
Crawford and all those.
Absolutely majestic players, like Hall of Fame players and players that you probably won't see again in the same team show such dominance for like stretches of time like they did. I mean, like they were, oh my God, like primetime Buddy. Like Buddy had his peak of his powers basically before his injuries. You had Roughhead, Mitchell, Hodge, Birchall. Oh my God, like it was just Jordan Lewis. They had a fair lineup, and Carlton have got, like you're saying, they got Wiedering. Yeah, he's quality. You got Walsh and Cripps, and then you got Mackay. Yeah. Okay, that's 4 out of the list size about 40. Where the fuck are these 36 players that they're going to get? Like, when are people going to realise that the coach can only do what they can do with the side that they've got to choose from? And this is all Stephen Savani's fault, being the list manager of Carlton for all those years, because he just thought that I'll just rehash these Giants players and think that, like we were talking about last week, it's backfired massively for Carlton. They're putting all their eggs in their one basket. Like getting Eddie Betts to come back as a 45-year-old, however it is.
I was really surprised by that. Yeah, I think I think he just wanted to finish off at home where he started, so they gave him that opportunity. But he was going his farewell game, but he didn't do much all year.
No, like he literally has put that team. That's not his fault because he got chosen every week. Young kids were missing out because he was taking their position. Like there was games where he had 0 touches up until half time and had 0 effect on the scoreboard. Yet they still continually picked him. It just didn't make sense. And like now it's to a point where I don't know, Kaz Bolt's retired as well. There's a lot of players leaving Carlton or not being retained, and Carlton was a club that people wanted to play for back in the 80s and 90s because they were successful. Yeah. But they're trying to throw money at blokes, and they won't go. You know, so I don't know. Like, will that Cherry go? He wants to go back to Victoria, the young gun from Freo. But geez, I don't know. Like, you want to play for a club with success, don't you? If you're going to leave a club that's more likely to make the finals before you will, I don't know. Yeah.
I agree with you.
Does funny things to people. Yeah.
All right. One game this week. What really tickles your fancy? What's the game that you think? Yeah, this is going to be bloody close. It's going to go down the wire. Is it the one tonight? Because I think tonight's going to go down the wire.
Well, the last time they played against each other, that was probably one of the games of the season. Actually, the last time they played against each other, because it was a pretty high-scoring affair, and the Cats were very un-Geelong-like and actually came back from a deficit to win, which is quite rare for the Cats. They don't tend to chase well. And last year they lost to Port in the same game. The same game, the same day, the same ground.
Circumstances, everything. Yep.
Circumstances. Was a low-scoring affair. It wasn't as high-scoring because it was raining as well. Oh, look. Port Adelaide, I'm just trying to think. They beat the Western Bulldogs a few weeks ago, didn't they? Look, I wouldn't be surprised if Port Adelaide win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Geelong win either. But I don't think Tom Stewart being out, like I said last week, Captain, is a massive loss for the Cats, and they have to try and fill that void somehow.
Yeah.
The Port Power will win purely for the fact that it's a home game for them. So they're actually
the crowd
playing
behind
at
them.
home with a crowd.
Yeah.
I know it's only 15,000, but 15,000 South Australians with nothing to do singing "Never Tear Us Apart" could be the difference, you know.
And Koshy's probably in the trainers beforehand going, "Hey, you win this, the cash cow's coming."
You know, we're due to win, and if we win, we're going to wear those prison bars jerseys and get the fine. I don't care. That's what he'll say. Stick it up your ass, you assholes. And it's ridiculous because, you know.
That's uncanny. That's pretty good.
I've been practicing, But, yeah, look, Port Power will probably win. But, like you're saying, Chris Scott's got this job where he really needs to use last week's game to motivate them. Not as a hindrance, but as something to really get them to the point where it's like, you should have won. You should have been minor premiers. We should have been playing Brisbane.
Yeah. Look what
now
can
it's
happen
your
when
job
you switch off.
to go out there and show everyone that we deserve to finish minor premiers. I mean, because look, for what? The majority of the game, they should have been minor premiers.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a really tricky game. Like, if I wasn't a Cats fan, I would have said Port Power will win.
Okay.
Knowing what the Cats are capable of, I don't want to be this one-eyed biased supporter, so I'm going to stick with Port.
Yeah, and Port. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, who do you think is going
to win? Team again? I think your Cats will win. I actually think after what happened last week, look, you guys were second leading up to that. You didn't get there for beating Nuffies. Like, you beat the best of the best. Unfortunately, your team fell asleep. I don't know how or why, but I think you're right. I think Scott will go in there and put a rocket right up their asses. And it won't happen again. I can tell you that. I think you guys get the chockies. I know it's at home and I know it's over there, but semi-finals is it's just a different kettle of fish, mate. It's and you guys are made for this.
And we talk about barometers in teams, like the players who really, if they play well, the team plays well. Yep. And that's Gary Rowan for the Cats. If Gary Rowan plays well and gets a bit of the ball and hits the scoreboard early, he frees up Jeremy Cameron and Tomahawk.
Yeah, for sure.
So if Gary kicks a couple of goals, let's say if he kicks 2 or 3 goals, the Cats will win.
Hopefully he's got a good scrapper getting him ready before the game.
Yeah, if he has 2 or 3 touches, we'll get belted. So he's the barometer. It
needs to be on fire. Yeah.
Who do you think's the Swans barometer? It'd be Papley, wouldn't it?
Him and Heaney.
Yeah.
Isaac is pretty good, but Paps is inaccurate at goal. That's his problem. He's very erratic. He gets the ball, doesn't really look. He just puts it straight on the boot and aims for the best. A bit like Franklin when he gets it too. At times he's bad at a set shot, but on the run he's gold. But Heaney's one of those guys. I mean, he pissed me off last week. Sorry, Heens, when you did that stupid around the body kick again and you hit the post. You weren't that far out, Champ. All you had to do was line it up and it would have gone straight through anyway. But you've done that stupid around the body thing. And that's a pet hate. We've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Get it out of your game, mate. You don't need it. You're a bloody genuine good kick.
Yeah.
And you weren't that far out on a bad angle. You didn't need it.
Yeah.
For me, it's Heaney.
Yeah.
Heaney's got to be on. Yeah, Pap's got to be on. But, with Mill going down and, Kennedy's still out. We've lost a bit there in the midfield, but we'll see what happens. The boys still went good.
If I was a Swan supporter, I'd be nervous because
I am,
the Giants are a team where you need a crystal ball to predict what's going to happen. There's games where they've looked absolutely phenomenal and world beaters, and there's other games where you think, oh my God, like they're going to barely scrape into the 8.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's great in some ways not to be a supporter of a team in finals because you can just appreciate it for what it is. But if you've got a team in the 8, it's the most stressful 4 weeks of your life, isn't it? And it's
I'm chuffed. We came 15th last year and we're now come 6th and we're in the bloody semis.
Yeah, but like Captain, like you probably should have won a few more flags in those early teens. Like you had the side to really win 3 or 4.
We choked in a couple.
Yeah, and look,
Hawks got us, bloody Bulldogs got us.
Yeah, and the 2012 one, you can look at it and think,
West Coast got us.
Yeah. So look, it's one of those things, isn't it? Like, and as a footy fan, you're never going to be satisfied with just 1 or 2. Like, you always want to win because it's so addictive, isn't it? Like, there's nothing better than seeing your team win. Like, it is legit. And even if you're not at the ground, it's the best month of your life afterwards because you're
Oh,
just
definitely.
euphoric.
Yeah.
So and that's why Melbourne fans have probably got these massive expectations at the moment. You know, minor
got a few
premise
teams.
64. Yeah,
And Melbourne teams in general, you got a few teams in the semis there. So, you know, you're licking your lips there. Like the Victorian teams are looking all right. They've got a couple there: Bulldogs, Bombers, your Mob, the Cats. You know, then you've got the Demons, minor premiers.
how good is it to have two New South Wales teams in the finals? Like being in New
and
South Wales.
no one from
I know I'm in
Western
Queensland
Australia.
now, but mate, can you imagine like when we were growing up playing footy in Western Sydney? Like I know you're playing out Penrith Way and I was in Sebo, Blacktown. Can you imagine like if there wasn't like the Swans Academy or the GWS Academy while we were younger?
Yeah.
So this is a massive boost for Sydney AFL and New South Wales footy in general because it's 100%. Like sticking it up the old VFL, isn't it? Because it's like two expansion teams that actually have been successlevel. More so the Swans, obviously, with the relocation from the Bloods. But I mean, it's just great that we've got Port Adelaide's in there, Brisbane's in there. So South Australia, Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria. So like, obviously, it would have been nice to have West Coast or Freo in there, but
you got to turn up to play, champ, and they didn't. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap it up for this week. Champions, once again, you can find this on the YouTube channel. It will be on the website, www.armchairchampions.com. Next week, we're going to dive into the winners and the losers and the games that are ahead of us next week. Until then, Oyster, what do you say, mate? Footy is the winner?
Oh, like just life in general at the moment, you know.
Like it's another zero donut day for you guys up there.
Oh, well, yeah. And, you know, even though I still have to wear my mask in the classroom, because, you know, kids are super spreaders, apparently. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew that? Wow.
Footy is the winner. And look, this is the one thing that's really going to help people in lockdown, just footy finals in general. And I know like the NRL is still a couple of weeks away, but I mean, like you've got a cracking game tonight. You've got a cracking final series, really. That's could be one of the more closer encounters, hopefully.
Yep.
There shouldn't be really too many blowouts you'd expect. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
And also too, sports fans before I go on, leading up to the Swans and GWS game in the actual the netball in the Suncorp Super Series, we've got the GWS Giants up against the New South Wales Swifts in the grand final. So imagine if we had crowds down here in New South Wales, would absolutely pack the joint. It'd be absolutely buzzing with two games that are on Saturday tomorrow.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and now it's at Nissan Arena in Brisbane.
75% crowd, allowed. So at least I'll get a crowd.
I know it's 100% now. It's been announced. There's 100% attendance.
Wow.
Yeah. We can stand in pubs now, listeners in Queensland. So that's nice. like that I go to a pub because I've got no friends up here. But,
hit Oyster up, fans. Come on, go and have a beer with Oyster up in Brisbane. Look him up.
I'm still waiting for some feedback emails from my articles, but anyway, just hit me up, mate.
Let's hit them up. All right, champions. Till next week. We'll speak then. Enjoy your footy.
See you, Captain. Talk to you soon,
mate.